Saving America one entrepreneur at a time. It's the Biz Wrap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan.
It's Biz Wrap Radio, the show that celebrates entrepreneurs and small business with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan.
And welcome to another edition of Biz Wrap Radio. It's your host, Mike Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. As always, we've got a tremendous show lined up for you. If you are new to Biz Wrap Radio, we are the show all about small business people and entrepreneurs. Before we get to our guest today, I really have to once again talk about this war on small business that seems to be going on in the United States. It just seems to be getting tougher and tougher. As many of you know, I am a university professor. At least one of my occupations is university professor. I teach accounting and finance, and I teach an entrepreneurial finance class. Budding entrepreneurs. These are young people, mostly in their early to mid-20s, all looking to think about how they can create businesses after they've graduated from college. Some of them, amazingly enough, are actually running businesses now while they're going to college, and their enthusiasm is just off the charts. I love being with these students, helping them learn and teaching them about the world of small business and entrepreneurship. But one of the things we had a discussion about last night was, government regulation, and in particular, the IRS code. And we had a presenter in last night, a young lady who's developing some tax-related app, and she was talking about the number of pages basically in the IRS code and how it has grown. And her statistics were back to something like 2014. In 2014, the tax code was over 50,000 pages. Now think about that, 50,000 pages, so you can tell and figure out the money you should be paying to Uncle Sam. And believe me, if you don't do it right, you're not getting the Hillary Clinton treatment. No way. You're going directly to jail. You're going to have big fines and penalties. They're going to come in and grab your business, write you all sorts of nasty letters telling you they're going to repossess your house and all of your assets if you don't comply with these 50,000 pages of regulations. Then I was talking to somebody this morning. He says, no, Mike, that's outdated. It's now up to 70,000 pages. This is completely and crazily out of control, and we got to do something about it. But the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur is make money, take care of your family, take care of your employees, take care of your community, and do what small businesses in the United States have been doing, literally since this country has was founded. We are the lifeblood. We are the nerve system of the U.S. economy. Most people in the United States work for a small business. As we pulled out of the recession, most new jobs were created by small businesses. So keep doing what you're doing out there, and hopefully by listening to our guest this week, you will be able to do it even better. And with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our guest. Our guest is Joel Wissing. His company is Reputation Crew, and Joel is one of those people who's an expert in branding and SEO strategy, which is now becoming so important to every business. Joel, thank you for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, what is Reputation Crew, and what do you do?
Well, what we do is we work with local businesses on how to get found with the search engines. I mean, most entrepreneurs, they have two things they need to consider, and one is, of course, their capital allocation, and second is their time. And most of the time, they're too busy doing their own business to take care of themselves on the web. So what we found is that we can help them focus on their business and get their clients through the front door.
So let's talk about this web situation. Everybody, you hear about these words, Google rankings and SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization. Most small business people that I talk to think that somehow this entire, kind of like Donald Trump here, they think the entire system is somehow rigged against small business, that big corporations are able to come in and spend tons of money and all the rest, and it's very difficult to get noticed. You know, I do a Google search on something that I'm interested in, and there is in a matter of a few seconds, Google has found a million pages that have what I'm interested in on them, and yet it's extremely difficult for a small business to actually get on the first page. And if you're not in the first page, you don't exist.
That's true. You know, what we found too is that Google is the monster. It is the gorilla in our living room, and it accounts for basically 64% of all search engine traffic. Bing also is entering the market really with a lot this year. It's pulling 21%, like 1/3 of the amount of Google. And for small businesses to get their business, let's say it's a local pizza shop, if they have not done some basic things which fall under Google's trust standards or their value statements, they won't be found. And the problem is that you have actually hundreds and hundreds of companies that have been aligned with things like Yelp and Google and Bing and LinkedIn who are calling you trying to get your business to advertise on these search engines.
So how does that? I mean, you talked about these trust factors. I'm really not familiar with that. What exactly does that mean, and what is Google looking for? And even more importantly, how do they assess that? I've got two pizza joints in my neighborhood. One's 3 blocks in one direction, the other's 3 blocks in the other direction. How does Google determine? Oh, this pizza joint is more trustworthy than that pizza joint. I mean, what's their strategy? How do they figure that out? That sounds like to me, it just sounds like a whole big crock of bullshit. Oops, I'm not sure I can say it on the radio, but I said it anyway. I'll bleep it out.
Well, and it feels like that too. One thing that we look at is trust. So, for instance, you're the pizza place. Do you have your address on your website's page? Do you have a phone number? Do you have reviews? So for Google, trust is about content. Is your content specific to your business? If we come to your website, is it secure? If a Google client comes to your site to order pizza, are they going to get their credit card information stolen? Do you have a hack site? So actually, Google checks these things. They check to see if your content is original and trustworthy. They also check to see if it's secure, if your site is protecting your clients that are going to be purchasing from you. So that's part of the trust. The other thing they look at is authority. And authority is like who links to you, who likes you. Are you listed in trusted sites? Mm-hmm. And what they did is they created these animal updates to validate these processes.
Well, how does that work? That sounds like you could say animal updates?
Yeah, the most famous one is the one that started out the Google Panda update. Uh-huh. And that was an algorithm that was actually released not by an animal, but a man named Naveed Panda, who decided that we have to check our content. Around 2011, the internet was filled with spammers, people who could load keywords and do black hat type of SEO work and drive sites up to the first position in the search engine. So what they did is they created this Panda algorithm, which looked at the website to see if they're trustworthy, to see if the content was good, to see if it was spammy, to see if there was advertising above the fold, which is the upper half of the website, to see if it was phishing, trying to get your information and sell it to other people. So that was part of the first update called Panda, which was to check if your site was trustworthy.
Gotcha. So if somebody has a website, and we're about 45 minutes here from commercial break, but very quickly, if somebody has a website, how do they find out if they're in compliance with these trustworthiness factors that Google has somehow come up with?
Well, first of all, you need to see if your content on your website is original. This is the biggest thing for Google right now. Content is everything. And if, for instance, if you're, let's say, a pizza site or a pizza restaurant selling pizzas, do you have information about why your pizza is special?
Okay, look, Joel, let's leave it there because we do have to. I'm so interested in this. This has really got me excited. It is Mike Manahan, Biz Rap Radio, on with Joel Wissing, talking about search engine optimization, Google searches, and all that sort of stuff. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks again for joining us today. If you just joined the show, we are talking with Joel Wissing. Joel is an SEO expert and an expert on all of this Google searches and Google rankings and things like that. And again, Joel, thank you for joining me on the show today.
Glad to be here.
Now, before we went for commercial break, we were talking about the importance of having unique content on your site. So I guess what you're saying is I can't just go out and copy a bunch of stuff from 50 different websites and paste it onto my website and then say, hey, I've got lots of content here. That's not going to work?
Yes, Panda will take care of you. They will knock you out of the search engine results. Wow. And the way they do that is that their algorithm will go out to other sites and see if you are copying. And if you are copying someone, you actually can use other people's articles on your site. You just have to use it as a citation and note it with a link back to their site. So some people, when they don't have content that they can think of, will actually use other people's articles, link back to them, and then comment on them and create articles that way.
So I could take an article that was of interest to me, like just as an example. An article about a radio, because I'm a radio broadcaster. I could find an article about something about the radio business. I put it on my site. I maybe add a paragraph or two of my own comments and reflections on the article, and then I put the source and a link to where I found the article, and I'd be okay. That's not going to get me in trouble.
Then you comply to Panda rules.
Okay. Because that's one of the issues. I mean, it sounds very simple. Oh, you have to have unique content, but content it's not easy to come up with. Believe me.
It's true. A lot of people pay a lot of money for the creation of content, and what it is, if you have a niche and you actually have an opinion about other people's content, you can include that in your site. Uh-huh. The biggest key right now is to actually answer questions. Like, what is the underlying question in this article? What is missing from this article that if you added it would have people share what you are saying in your own content?
Interesting. Now, when you say ask questions, are you talking about having the ability where people coming to your site could go on and make comments about the article, or are you talking about you as the business owner getting the article and coming up with some questions and posting answers yourself?
Well, actually, that is what another one of the updates was about. Google Hummingbird, which was created in 2013, just came out with a AI which looks for questions and answers. And so people are typing questions now into the Google search box, like what date was Obama born, or who makes the best pizza in New York City, and answering these questions, like first stating the question, where is the best pizza in New York City, and then answering it. Oh, the best pizza in New York City is here because of this, 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 and this, and you list the answers. This new Google Hummingbird AI is searching for the questions and the answers.
Oh,
so, for
amazing.
instance, for physicians, we have doctors, and we basically say, what are the questions your patients ask you? And then we put those questions in the article and the answers, and they are coming up very high in the search engine rankings.
Wow, that is amazing, and that seems like such a simple thing to do because, all you have to think about it is any business person you're going to get asked tons of questions by your customers or your clients, and typically they all ask the same questions. You know, there's a list of them, and I know that. And it's funny because I don't have this on my website, my consulting website, but I used to have something back in the day when you handed out a lot of pieces of paper. I used to have a thing, frequently asked questions, and it had like 12 questions on it, and I would, have the answers, and I would give those out to potential clients. I don't have that on my website, but I could easily recreate that on my website.
And even the articles that you've already published, you can go back and put some questions in it, highlight them, and say what's important about your subject.
Gotcha. So if you had, say, an article that was, maybe 1,000 words long, what would that be? Six or seven paragraphs type of thing. You could go in and put in maybe 3 or 4 questions that are answered in the paragraph below type of thing.
That's right.
And Google would actually find that?
Yeah, Google actually loves articles that have been re-indexed. That means that you've republished them. Let's say you have an article that doesn't have a photo, and you put a photo in it. That will cause Google to re-index the page. And Hummingbird right now, if you have a question in it, is continually running. So if you make the change on the pages and let's say tweet that page out, I just updated this page, and tweet that, Google will re-index that page and probably bring it up in the search engine rankings.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. So there's a lot of now, and most business owners know their business well enough. So there's a lot of a lot of these questions and content-related answers that the owner of any business should be able to come up with, and then it's just a matter of putting it up on the website. Now, I use for my website, I use a product called Joomla. Does it matter what software you've used to build your site?
There is a lot of argument over this question. The most recognizable format is actually WordPress, and it is very easy to SEO. Joomla is also a very well-designed website format, but it's a little more difficult because there are not as many people using it. Drupal is the same way. And so what happens is when you have problems on Joomla or Drupal or these other programs, there's not as much information or quick fixes in the marketplace. So yes, they're all good, and they all have the ability to be SEO'd and updated.
So one thing, I guess, is somebody needs to understand. Now, what about for that entrepreneur out there or that small business person that knows web stuff is important, but they're already running 100 miles an hour in their business. They're handling sales, they're handling marketing, they're trying to supervise the accounting department, they're in charge of product development. They're not like a big corporation. They don't have 65 vice presidents all making $200,000 a year. They're wearing all of these hats, and now we're saying to them, yeah, but you need to pay attention to this website stuff. How can they manage this website stuff effectively but also economically?
This is always the question, and this is part of your capital and time allocation. So, for instance, some of our lawyers. We have lawyers that are tax professionals. And so, initially they say, I can write 10 articles a month and we can publish them. It's actually better to underperform in this sense and be consistent than it is to hit the web with a ton of content at once. So we basically have them putting out an article every 3 weeks or once a month, and that's all they have to participate in keeping the website up, just giving us one article. And it's better to be consistent in your actions than to hit it all at once and do 100 articles and 1,000 links and then leave it go for 3 or 4 months. Google will derank your site very quickly if you're inconsistent. So for people who are wearing all those hats, if you can allocate maybe once a month to update your site with an article, it's much better than putting 10 articles up and then leaving your site for 2 or 3 months.
Gotcha. So you need to be consistent. It needs to be it's 50 hours once every 3 months is not the right strategy. It's better off to do an hour a day, if you will, type of thing.
Or 2 hours a week.
2 hours a week.
You know,
Joel, I'm sure somebody listening right now is saying, this is what I need to do. I need to talk to an expert. How does somebody get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about this SEO stuff?
Well, you can come to the site, reputationcrew.com. You can also email me at Joel, Joel, at reputationcrew.com, or you can give me a call at, I'll give you my line. It's 949-887-7610. And those are the easiest ways to get in touch with me.
And if somebody calls, can they at least have a conversation with you without getting kind of a super hard sell right off the bat?
My first priority is to add value.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm not there to close a sale as much as to see if we're fit to work together.
Gotcha.
That is what we're looking for. And most people walk away from my conversation saying, wow, if I just do this one thing, it's going to put me ahead of the game.
Okay. That's great. Joel, this is great information. Again, I'm talking with Joel Wissing, Reputation Crew, and contact Joel. Maybe he's right for you, and we're going to have to go for a commercial break here. But we're going to have more on SEO, search engine optimization, Google Ads and strategy, and all that sort of stuff on BizRap Radio right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for joining us today on the show. And if you just did tune in, we are speaking with Joel Wissing, Reputation Crew. He's a Google SEO expert. We've been talking about how you can move your website up in the rankings. Two things we've talked about. We talked about trust. You have to have certain things on your website. And we've also talked about content and about having your original content on your website. And Joel, once again, thanks for being with me today.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so we talked about trust. We talked about content. Now, what about, I've heard that it's important to have other people linking to your site, but how do you get people to do that? How do I get people to link to my site?
Well, that's a great question, and it's actually one that people do not follow through with. And this is where the Google Penguin update comes in, and that is for authority. So, of course, it's going to be based on, for instance, if someone shares information from your site, or if they do a review of your product or you as a service. But one thing that Penguin looks at is, have you done the basics to be found? And these are called citations. Have you listed, in the old days it used to be, are you listed in the directory or not?
Mm-hmm.
And Google has the same thing. The first one is the Google business. Google has google.com/my business. What you need to do is look up your name or look up your business in Google, and it will probably list you. And right under there it says, is this you?
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so if it is, push the button. They're going to ask you to validate it, ask you for more information, and then give them the number one thing, content about you and your business. Now, let's say, for instance, you're a pizza shop again.
Mm-hmm.
And so Google Business is going to expect that, one, you're recognized, one, by them, Google Business. Second, they're going to go out and check and see if the competitors have got you. Bing Business, which is exactly the same. Get this. Bing Business is 1/3 the size of Google, right, for traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Yet 99% of businesses have not claimed their business on Bing.
Wow.
99%.
That's absolutely amazing. So you just go to bing.com/business?
Yeah, and go to Google, Bing.com,
Uh-huh.
Look up your business name.
Okay.
If it appears, it'll say, is this you?
Wow.
And all you have to do is push that button and then fill it in. So remember, what was the biggest thing for trust that Google looks at? Content.
Content, yes.
Yeah, so fill it with content.
Gotcha.
Put pictures in there. Put your menu in there. Put your list of services. If you're a restaurant, put a picture of every dish you serve.
Wow. Okay, now so I got another question here, because I was talking to a company they were a travel agency, and they do tours. And they were saying they hired this Google expert, and that Google expert said they had a problem the way they were doing their tours, because they might do, for instance, 4 tours to Europe each year. And, each tour might be slightly different, but, let's say all 4 tours are going to have one of their stops is going to be, some cathedral in the south of France. And so there's a description of the cathedral and what they're going to do at the cathedral. And it's a couple of paragraphs long, but it's the same wording in each one of the tours. And their Google person there that they hired said, no, that's going to kill you, because Google's going to say you've got duplicate content and you're going to be screwed. You never get any rankings. You got to change. But the person I was talking to owns a travel agency. Well, what can I change? That's a description of the cathedral. I can't change the description of the cathedral. And we'd go there 4 times a year, and I got 4 different pages talking about each one of those different trips. What do I do? And I said, I have no idea. Well, so I'm asking you.
The hummingbird we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
The hummingbird has that AI, which is looking for questions to be answered. And so you could go back to that article and insert questions. Like, what is the most beautiful thing to see at the name of the church? Or why do people visit this church?
Yeah.
What is the main thing to see at this church? Add those questions, and it changes the content, and it also triggers the new AI, which is actually called Rank Brain, to bring your article to the top of the search engines.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, how did you figure all this stuff out, Joel?
I read everything out of Google about their own SEO. They actually have about a 600-page listing under their Google.com businesses for strategy for SEO. And so I listen to all the videos, I read all the information, and then we test these things out. The questions we have been testing on over 50 sites, and it has driven up, like we have a pain physician in Tampa, Florida we work with, and there is a thing called the iliac nerve, and there's a process for stopping pain. How do you stop pain for the iliac nerve? Well, I would have never thought about that question, but I put it in there, and evidently there are 2,000 people a month searching for it, and they're visiting the site.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, it's interesting you mentioned that question thing, because I often type questions into Google, and I find very often the questions I type in, there's no website that actually has the answer to those questions. A bunch of websites come up, but if the answer is in those websites, it's not very clear. So if I actually put that question in, will my actual page come up, the page that answers that question?
Yes, that's what the key is. And if you have, for instance, there's a way when you write a title, if you put that in your title, the question in your title, it's called an H2, a heading 2 title at the beginning, and it will then tell the search engine, this is what the page is about, this question.
Wow, it's amazing. So I guess we got a lot of work to do on our websites. Okay, so we've talked about content, we talked about this question stuff, we've talked about some of the trust. Any other ideas or thoughts that people should be looking at as they're working on their website and trying to improve exposure for it?
Well, yes, there are actually 2 big things that you need to look at. One is, if you have a website, make sure you have a backup of it. My business has grown out of client need, and I'm very entrepreneurial in this way of adding services as my clients bring them to me. And in this last year, we have been approached over 100 times for people who have lost their websites to hacking. And if you don't have a website backup program so that you always have a backup of your website. It could wipe you out for a long period of time.
Wow, that's
And
amazing. Isn't this something that you think your website's on some server out there, right? Isn't the server company backing this up for you?
Yes, they are, but if it has been altered to a sense that it's no longer safe for them to keep the backups because you've been hacked, you will not get it. And we've run across this with HostMonster, GoDaddy, Bluehost. A lot of major hosts have not been able to bring websites back. And it's at that time that they introduce you to the $200 an hour specialist to bring it back.
Wow, unbelievable. So this is something that every business should be doing is, do I have a copy of my website now, or a backup copy of my website? Now, is that something that they would download onto their own computer, or where would they keep that backup copy?
That they can do. A lot of we basically started the service. It's just pennies, basically. It's about $100 a year, where we keep backups for our clients, and if they call us within 24 hours, we put their site back up. And we created this service out of demand. We had not even thought about this last year, and within the last year, we have received so many calls for help for people who haven't backed up their websites. So you can do it yourself and download it to your hard disk on your computer, or you can save it to Google Drive, or you can put it on Amazon S3. Those are other ways you can do it. And there are a lot of programs out there. Just be sure that you feel competent in the copy that you're getting, because a lot of people download it, give us the information, and then it's not usable.
Okay, that's great information. It's Mike at BizRap Radio. I am on with Joel Wissing. Reputation Crew is his company, SEO and website expert. Joel, once again, how can people get a hold of you?
They can either call me at 949-887-7610, email me at joel@reputationcrew.com, or from the website, www.reputationcrew.com.
Couldn't be simpler. Reach out to Joel and see what you're doing wrong. It's Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. We'll be back right after these messages. And once again, welcome back to BizRap Radio. I am your host, Michael Manahan. But let's get right back to our guest, is Joel Wissing, Reputation Crew. We're talking about organic search engine optimization. How do you get to the top of those old Google rankings when somebody types in a few search words? And Joel, once again, thanks for being on the show.
Glad to be here. It's been great.
So we've talked a lot about what people should do if they already have the website's up and running. But, the United States, we're creating new businesses like crazy. And I'm so proud that entrepreneurship is really taking off with young people today. It's taking off with a lot of people in the immigrant community. It really is just a force. But everybody who's starting a business is going to need a website. And I suspect a lot of people don't know where to start and make a lot of mistakes when they're getting started. So what advice do you have for that new business that says, okay, we just formed the corporation, we've just put together a business plan, now it's time to start building a website? What should they do?
Well, my best advice on this would be to work with someone who can create a strategy. A website strategy is so important to give your direction for getting your clients and also the return on your investment. Having a strategy that's 6 months to a year so that you can, based on the amount of capital that you've allocated, can get your website into the marketplace. For instance, of course, having your brand name and having your logo and your address. You can put up a basic website, and these will help you get found, especially if you're a local business. But if you can then go to the next level of working towards gaining authority for your website and doing some very simple things, like the 5 things that would affect a website the most is actually having a Google page, a LinkedIn page, a Facebook page, and then hooking those to your website. Mm-hmm. And just those basic things will push you up in the search engine rankings for a local business. Now, I do have one more tip, which is huge for businesses that do have their website, is that if they make their website mobile friendly, they are almost guaranteed a bump in their search engine rankings. Because how is everyone searching for local businesses these days?
Well, yeah, it's mostly down on your phone. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Google in this last update said basically, look, if you're using a mobile-friendly website, we're going to place you for local inquiries. So if you're a local business having a service and someone is in your area, they put that in, and your website is responsive, that means it'll show up on their browser, on their iPhone, or on their Samsung, you will get the top positions.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, okay, that's great for the local business, but what about these? I mean, these days I hear so many entrepreneurs, and by the way, this is something that's great about this globalization that's occurring and the internet and just the way we can have a very small business located, pretty much anywhere in the world competing globally. I mean, I was amazed. I went onto a website the other day. I needed a battery for some special piece of equipment I have. I didn't even really pay much attention to it. I did a Google search. I found the website. I ordered the battery. It arrives the next day. It came from Hong Kong. I didn't even know I was ordering from Hong Kong. I mean, that's just amazing. But if you want to target international business, are there any strategies you have for the company how can you expose yourself to the international community more effectively?
Well, fortunately, Google is very widely searched through Africa, Europe, United States, and most of Asia outside of China. China uses Baidu, and that's a completely different game. But what we have found is with Baidu searches, because we do take care of that also, Baidu searches almost follow the same guidelines as Google. So if you have stepped up to follow within the two value principles of trust and authority with Google, most of the time you will be found in Baidu and also in Bing.
Wow, so you just have to be consistent about the things that you're doing. Now, if you want to get high on the search engines in China, does it help to hire somebody to put a few Chinese words on your website?
It actually does. And there's a program if you have a WordPress site called WPL. Mm-hmm. It's a plugin which will translate your site for you.
That's not. Is it fairly accurate? Because I've heard people say
it is fairly accurate.
Oh, it is.
We've
Wow.
used it on medical websites, laser websites, coffee actually, a coffee distributor, and the results are fairly good. It is not a perfect translation,
of course,
but they will keyword.
Wow, so that's something. And is this is it costly, this particular program that will translate?
It's a plug-in that is, I think, $47 a year.
Wow, so it's not a lot of money. So if you're if you're out there looking to expand your international business, hey, let's face it. I mean, it's interesting because I'm a traveler and I'm often looking to travel in Europe as an example, and the websites in Europe, they'll have these little flags up in the top corner. They might have 4 or 5 different flags, French, German, Italian, and maybe a couple of others. We don't see that so much in the United States. It's very rare that you have those little flags for translating. So maybe that's something that people could do that could also differentiate themselves. Look,
and most of the time they're using that program too, the WPL.
Okay. Joel, we're getting to the stage where we're starting to run out of time. So once again, I know people listening, some of them would like to communicate with you or check out your website. Give us your contact information once again.
My phone number, which is easiest to reach me, is 949-887-7610. My email is Joel, Joel, at reputationcrew.com. And, of course, the website, too, reputationcrew.com.
Okay, that's it. Reach out to Joel. I mean, this is stuff you really need to pay attention to, and this is really, really important stuff. And what I like about it is it's sound advice, and it's advice that you can actually roll up your sleeves and help participate in. You don't need to necessarily hire some high-priced experts to help you with it. So, Joel, once again, I really appreciate you being on the show, and thank you for all of this great information on how we can improve our Google rankings and the content on our website.
Thank you very much. Entrepreneurs are the heart and soul of this country.
Yes, indeed they are. This is BizRap Radio. Of course, we're here at BizRap Radio fixing the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulations and a planned economy. I am your host, Mike Manahan, and we'll be back again next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.